ready here? Oh, I have a visitor. Hello. How are you? Good. Good. Nice. Hi, everybody. I'm Mark. And this is Smokey Steve and Marc. Minus Smokey Steve, of course. As you know, he's working late, so it looks like I have Tuesdays too. So anyway, how is everybody doing? It's great to see you on this Tuesday. Right, Bandit? You can't see him, but Bandit's right here. I'm really hoping he comes and makes a cameo. He's sitting like right on the edge of the couch over here, and I'll try to get him in and say hello. Well, this would be a perfect time to do it, right? Come say hello. Here's my big boy. Oh, say hello to everybody. He's purring, but he's camera shy. Well, there, we got to say hello. Yeah, is that good? No. Anyway, yes, how is everybody doing? I hope you're doing good. I don't have much to report today. I was off today, so I just spent the day getting a bunch of errands done, actually here in the house. I'm unpacking Halloween stuff because I like to get, all the Halloween decorations up definitely by the last week of September, so we can have it up for a whole month. So that really excites me. And I take inventory and see what I have, what I want to get, what I want to make, things like that. But anyway, thank you everybody for all your comments on last night's video. I'm really happy that you liked that winter herb garden we made. I have it out in the kitchen right now, and I made one for a gift, and I'm going to give it to her tomorrow, so I'll have to let you know what she thinks of it. But I also posted it on Facebook. If you'd like to make it, check it out there. And I like to keep Mondays with Marc, like whimsical and fun and interactive like that, so we're always doing something crafty or maybe cooking or in the garden or something like that, a little bit unlike tonight's video. Tonight we'll be taking a little more, serious look at things. What I decided to do was share a video about, well, me. I just titled it Getting to Know Me, My Story, because I realized that since I joined the channel, I never really did like an introduction to Marc type of video. I did do a recovery story a few months back, but as far as like a little mini life story, I never did that. And there were two reasons that I wanted to do that. One was just to, kind of like let you know a little bit about me, and where I come from and things like that. But also because we decided to go forward with the little mini-series I'm going to do about like a self-discovery and trying to improve things in my life. And on that note, I have to say thank you. Everybody sent in so many good ideas as far as the title for that little series we're going to do. And I like them all, and I never can pick, but the one I like the most, I think, is, let's see, the comments, there it is, comments. Every time I read this, it's like the light, I can't even see it, and Steve's not here to read it for me, so I gotta do it, and you can't read it, right? He's still here, he didn't jump down. Anyway, so, we're gonna do a title, and it's going to be, Journey of Self-Discovery and Improvement. I love that. I think that's really, really great. So thank you to Magna M for that suggestion. I'm going to use it. Thank you. Thank you everybody who sent in suggestions. They were all great, and I just had a hard time picking it, but I do like that. So that's going to be the name of the little mini series or segment or that we're going to do about, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to share with you a little bit of my life story, because I think that once I get into talking about this journey of sort of self-discovery and improving things in my life, I think it's important to kind of know where I come from and maybe learn a little bit about like what makes me tick, or maybe like why I do struggle with some of the things that I struggle with, and some things that maybe held me back in life, that I'm trying to overturn now at this time, And this all began with that video I made with the age shaming, and it was something that I really struggled with, And I have to say that a video like this is kind of uncomfortable for me. I'm a pretty private person, especially recently in life. I found that I've become a little more introverted than extroverted. I was always pretty extroverted, and I kind of wondered why, and So that's what led into all this, and that's why I'm making a video tonight about my life story. So I have my timer set. I'm not going to talk for 3 hours about myself. I swear I'm not going to do that. I know that I can sometimes ramble on and on and on and on, but I'm not going to do that tonight. So let's get started. At the beginning, I guess that's the best place to start, right? That's a song. Let's start at the a very good place to start. Yeah, that was a song. But we're going to stick with getting to know me, right? Getting to know you, getting to know all about. That song is actually special to me. My grandma used to sing me that song. She loved All in the Family. Look, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, my grandmother loved All in the Family, and Edith would sing that every once in a while on the show, and then she would sing it to me, so it just holds a special memory. But anyway, I was born September 6th, 1970. I'm 49 years old. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And, when I was born, my mother was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. And, what followed, pretty much for the rest of her life, my memories are mostly of her being sick. And, which is sad, and so she was not there in my life, as a mother should be. Now, this was not by choice, of course. She did have a debilitating disease, and back then in the 70s and even in the 80s, the treatments are nothing like they are today. Not that they've come super far with that disease, but, you had it and you pretty much lived with it. There were medications that she took, and she did do a lot of experimental medications as they came out too, but she did suffer with it through her whole life. And, that did impact me in a few ways. One was I was missing a mother. And another way, I remember even at a very young age feeling so sad for her and wishing that I could do more for her and feeling helpless that I couldn't do anything for her. I was born into an abusive household. My father was a very, very angry man, and I did suffer abuse, verbal, emotional, physical abuse, and sexual abuse as well. Although the sexual abuse was with a neighbor, it was not with a family member, but abuse nonetheless. And one of the earliest childhood memories that I ever have is I remember my dad hitting my mom across her face, and I remember blood splattering onto my face. And I don't recall how old I was, but it was one of my very first memories. I was very, very young at that time. And then I remember her and I sitting together in my bedroom on the bed afterwards. It's almost like a photograph or like a slideshow in my mind, So, that was my very, very early childhood. And I started to grow up and in this abusive household. And I was awkward at school. I was overweight. I didn't have a lot of friends. And I had no haven. Like, I had a terrible time, and I hated going to school, and I hated coming home. So there was nowhere to go, to get a break, except for my grandmother's house, which I would go every single weekend. And I remember sometimes on Sunday nights just bawling my eyes out, can I just stay one more night? You can drive me to school. And, most often, she did let me stay overnight, But, this brings me to the sexual abuse. I was 8 years old when this happened, and it was with the neighbor. And honestly enough, that was not the most traumatic thing that I experienced. As a matter of fact, it wasn't traumatic to me at all at that age. Now, at 8 years old, I really didn't know what sex was, or that this was wrong, or anything like that. All that I knew was that somebody wanted me, and I got this false sense of love and belonging while this was going on. And it went on for a few months. And I remember actually going over there myself, initiating and going over there myself. And I, had to work through this many years later, because I had so much shame and guilt over that I wasn't traumatized by it, or that I, went over myself. You know, he didn't come and get me. I went over a couple times myself, and I just had so much guilt and shame. Like, you know, what kind of freak am I even at that age, you know? But working through it years later, you know, I did realize that, you know, the pain and the hurt was far less over there than it was in my own home. And as a child, I longed and so much needed that sense of love and belonging, even if it was false. So, you know, I do understand how that came to be. Because, I mean, even years later, when I became interested in sex and understood what it was, and not necessarily sexually active, but, you know, fantasizing and things like that, you know, maybe, I don't know how old, 13, 14, like when you start having those feelings. You know, I remember thinking back on that abuse almost in like a fantasy way. And the shame and the guilt that I felt over that was just overwhelming, you know, and that was what prompted me to get help for it. And I spoke to a therapist about it. So, you know, that was that, you know, that was one of the major events of my childhood, you know, abuse, both with the neighbor and at home. And, you know, a traumatic school life as well. You know, and it's funny, I look back now and I try to, you know, detach myself, and I look at that little kid and I just want to like kind of hug him and make him safe, you know. I didn't have that as a child, you know. The person that was supposed to do that for me had his own demons and did not provide that for me, you know. So, you know, it wasn't all bad though. You know, like I said, I went to my grandmother's on the weekends, and my grandmother would take me on vacations. We would go to Florida a lot, you know, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. I mean, I remember once spending a couple months with her in Florida. She had a summer home in Florida. So there was a lot of great memories too with my childhood. You know, fast forward a little bit at 13, year sticks out. I had enough, you know, and I decided to grow up, and I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and said, you know, it's time to grow up. You got to do this for yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you. And nobody did. You know, some of the resentments that I have from that time were the people that I loved, like my grandmother and my mother, and maybe, you know, some school teachers and things like that, clergy, never intervened and got me out of that abusive situation for whatever reason, you know, and I had to work through those resentments too, you know, which I did. So the summer of my 13th year, I started working out. I started running. I joined an extracurricular activity at a vocational school where I learned the trade of cooking. And I met another guy there. His name was, well, I guess I can't say his name, but he became my best friend. And I sort of grew up, and I sort of came to be that summer, you know, and it felt good. And I ended up running away from home when I turned 14, and I ended up getting a job at a strip club. I haven't, you know, shared this with a lot of people, but, you know, the majority of the workers there were underage, and, you know, I'm sure they were in with the police and the legal system, because I don't know how a thing like that could operate in today's world. I'm sure it does, but and by the grace of God, or by luck, or by chance, you know, I never got involved in the drug scene at that age, or the prostitution scene at that age. I witnessed it, but I never got involved with it myself, you know, by the grace of God. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened, but it didn't at that time, you know. And I stayed at that job until I was sort of caught. A family member intervened, and they were in the audience one night. They were in the crowd, and they took me out. And I ended up moving in with my grandparents, and ended up going to high school at a different high school in Pittsburgh, which was the best move I ever did, because my high school years were fantastic. I loved my high school years. I had a lot of friends, and I had several very, very close friends, and I was very active in drama and theater, and that's when I really came to be, and really kind of came out and enjoyed life, and was happy. I started my own theater troupe at 16. You know, I just provided entertainment for my mother's apartment building, but then it grew from there. And then for the next 15 years, I ran a community theater troupe, which was something that I was very proud of, and I had an outlet for my creativity, which was really, really, I mean, these were some of the most, I have some of the best memories of my life during this time, you know, when I was involved with this theater troupe, and it was a lot of fun, you know. And then I graduated high school. Well, before I graduated high school, I got into a relationship at 17. Probably thinking back, I was a little young to jump into such a serious relationship, because that relationship went on for 13 years following that, and I was still immature, you know, but I think thinking back, you know, I saw him as a person that would rescue me or something, or take me away from, you know, my situation or whatever that is. I think that's probably what it was. Now, you know, I learned so much during that relationship, and a lot of who I am today came from that relationship, you know. So I have no ill feelings, or look, you know, it wasn't a bad relationship or anything like that, you know, but it ultimately didn't work out, because if we fast forward a little bit, I got involved in drugs, you know, and I do believe that a lot of these hidden demons that I had manifested itself, and I did turn to drugs to try to numb myself, you know, because the abuse and the, you know, when you're as a child constantly being abused and yelled at, and, you know, all these things, you know, it really messes with your self-worth and your self-esteem and your self-confidence. And then when I kind of grew up at 13 and took control of I put all that stuff on the back burner. I erased it. I didn't think about it. But it's still there, you know. It was still there all those years, you know. So, you know, fast forward in my late 20s, I got involved in drugs, and, you know, that whole time is just a blur, honestly. And that relationship ended, and I have found that, you know, I always had been attracted to men who were like powerful men, you know, men who were very strong-willed, sometimes very physically strong, you know, knew what they wanted, was the decision maker, you know, and I always was attracted to men like that, which is kind of funny now, because the relationship I'm in now with Steven, he's not like that, you know. He's not assertive, he demands very little, you know, and it's wonderful, and you know, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for where I'm at right now, you know. I sometimes think I can't believe that I'm in this relationship, you know, which is nice. But I won't get into my addiction years, because I did do a video about my recovery story, and I explained a little bit of that in that video, you know. But it was not a good time, you know. And so fast forward, you know, I after multiple rehab stays, I did eventually get clean. And I came out of all of that, you know, still kind of missing something in life. Now, you know, when you get clean, at first you are on this high, you know, you're on this life high, or I think they call it the rehab high or something like that, you know, where everything is wonderful. And it is, you know, just being free from drugs is liberating and a wonderful feeling. But, you know, something still was missing, and, you know, it was those issues that I of self-confidence and self-worth and self-esteem that I needed to work through, you know. And I eventually I moved here to Northeast Pennsylvania, and Steven and I got into a relationship, and but I was still missing something, and what I call the zeal of life, like my zeal for life, you know, it wasn't there. Like, I'm very happy in my relationship. I was very happy with the things that I had, with my job, and grateful. But I still felt like I was kind of introverted. You know, I had social anxiety. I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with these things that were holding me back in life, and I didn't know why. You know, and I couldn't figure it out. So I decided to kind of look inside myself, and, well, the first decision I made was that I wanted a better life. I wanted a better life for myself, and I wanted a better life for Steven. What really shook me was when I shared with you all the day that I was struggling because of my physical health, and I said that, you know, I have these strong feelings of just running away from everything because I don't want to put Steven through this. My future looks so bleak, and I don't want to put him through this. You know, I don't want him to have to take care of somebody who's sick. You know, I want him to be with somebody who's a millionaire so he can experience life. You know, all these very negative thoughts, you know, and the thought of leaving killed me. I was so sad, you know, like I mean, I think I even cried one time when that thought came to my mind, you know, and then I realized that I'm, you know, as important to Steven as he is to me. And, you know, we're in charge of our own lives. And I truly believe that we are responsible for ourselves, and we can be the change that we want to be. We can make those changes happen, and we can have a good life. And I started to try to figure out how to do that. And I believe that it's uncovering these things that are holding me back, like the age shaming thing, like self-esteem and self-worth. Self-worth is a big one. For so many years, I didn't feel worthy of anything. When I got into the relationship with, even today, the default setting is like, God, I don't deserve this relationship. I don't deserve him, you know, and I'm trying to change those things around, you know. But I think I jumped ahead really, really quick. But I mean, you know, so we fast forward, I got clean and got into the relationship now. Yeah, there's not much else really to tell. I have had a full life so far. I've done a lot of traveling. I've seen a lot of places. I've met a lot of fascinating and wonderful people, and I want to continue to do that. I really believe that we as humans are like the sum of our experiences. And I think that when we stop experiencing life, we might as well just chuck it in, you know what I mean? Like, life is meant to be experienced in a positive way. And I had found over the last couple years that I was just content sitting here on the couch, watching my TV, and not venturing out and doing these things, you know. So I had to find out why, and that's what I'm doing now, and that's why I want to do this little series of self-discovery and improvement with y'all. My hope is that perhaps you can relate, perhaps it may help somebody, and all the while, I'm very, very optimistic that it's going to help me too. It already has. You know, I never dreamed I would ever share my true age, like, publicly like that, you know, which is so ridiculous, but I did, and it felt very, very good, by the way. So thank y'all for that. I guess that's about it with my story. Of course, I didn't tell you everything. My mom died a few years back. Steven was with me, which was a blessing. So, that he was there with me. So I guess we'll end it there. I'm going to end it on a positive note, though, because, you know, I don't want anything on negative. Oh, my mom died and I ended it. No. But I did experience great loss in my life. My grandparents dying, my mother dying, you know, lost relationships, things like that, lost pets, things like that. But overall, you know, I've had a very full and active life. Yeah, so I think I'm getting a little scattered now, so I think we will end it there. I always still get so nervous. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope that this gives you a little more insight or understanding of some of the struggles that I'm dealing with today as I go on this little journey, so to speak. And whereas once I thought this was the end, you know, like, this is the end, like, life is not going to get any better. I just have to accept the fact that, you know, this is life and it's not going to get any, I don't feel that way now. This is just the beginning, and I have many, 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 many good years left, and I'm so grateful that I have Steven to share it with, and now y'all, you know. It gives me hope, and it makes me feel happy inside. It really does. So anyway, listen, I know that I was long-winded. I think we're over 20 minutes now or something. That was not my intention, but thank you so, so much for watching. And please like, comment, and please subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, SmokeySteveAndMarc. Send us a friend request. I post a lot of stuff on there. Check us out on Instagram, SmokeySteveAndMarc. And please have a wonderful, positive evening. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.